Now I want to continue the discussion and bring in Fort Lauderdale attorney and contractor Gregg Schlesinger and the Director of International Emergencies, Erica Glantz. Thank you both so much for joining us this morning. Gregg, I'd like to start with you and just get your expertise. Now, I understand that it's early. This happened last Thursday, but what do you think might have happened? How could this happen with a building that was right around 40 years old?
Sure. What happened was catastrophic structural failure. And the type of defects that were in that building, the spalling of the main steel columns, the rebar that is contained within the concrete columns rusted out. When the steel in those concrete columns rust out, the concrete spalls off, it falls off. We've seen that in the photographs of the 2018 report. That loses its structural integrity and compromises the structural support. What we found out last night, as reported in the New York Herald and shown throughout Miami Herald photographs,
right,
was that problem was occurring in the structural slab that abutted the building and structural beams around the pool area. When that goes, additional contributing causes and forces that are exerted upon it causes a cataclysmic collapse. Boom, and the thing pancakes down, and you have a domino effect,
right,
as far as the building's collapse is concerned.
And we know that the pile that these rescuers are working through is roughly 3 stories tall, about 75 feet tall. Just to give you some context, Erica, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us. I know how difficult this is. Your group is an international nonprofit group of volunteers that trained in Israel. The group has responded to more than 1,000 natural disasters since 2005. But the rescue effort here in Surfside is a lot more personal to you. Tell us why.
Correct. So thank you for having me here, first of all. All our responses are hard. One of the things that we encourage in our volunteers, in our rescue team, is empathy to the situation. But personally, for me, this tragedy, I know 4 of the missing people. That doesn't mean that we're doing something different that we usually do. We try to work as hard and as soon as possible in every kind of disaster. We usually try to arrive before the 72 hours, and this case is no different.
Gregg, in 2018, you just mentioned that report, so I'd like to get into that for a second, because it's already people want answers to the question why immediately after a tragedy. But that 2018 report is getting a lot of attention right now. It listed several areas of concern in this 40-year-old building. This building has a sister building, which is on the same property. Residents haven't been formally evacuated, although I've heard that many have already gotten out of the building as a precaution. After one of these reports comes out, isn't it imperative that any needs are addressed immediately?
Yes, immediately. And that's what should have been done. And this was a preventable incident. That's the sad part about it. Waiting 3 years, unacceptable. When you see a structural column and this concrete is spalled off and on the ground, you're losing structural integrity. That is a catastrophe waiting to happen that should have been addressed immediately. And the failure to find out just how bad it was. In other words, one could put up post shores and examine the column in more detail, the slab in more detail. What we do in the field is when we see a condition that shows that type of damage structurally, we want to see how bad it is. Is it rotten to the core? No one found that out.
Right.
People waited 3 years and the building collapsed. No additional investigation occurred. Inside the building envelope of that building, no one ripped off the drywall and checked out the structural joining members. No one did any pilot holes. No one did any demolition of a 10 by 10 area to just see how far back that spalling, the degradation of the steel was occurring. That's the real problem. What's been said is we were waiting to do all the work.
And that will be something that is looked over thoroughly over the next several weeks and several months. Erica, we've been showing video of dogs. They've been using sonar and search and rescue dogs. I understand that you have a personal connection to a dog named Oreo. These dogs are so important in search and rescue efforts. Take us through that.
They are. So Oreo is one of our rescue dogs. She's 1 year and 8 months, and she's been working nonstop since the team arrived from Mexico last week. She works in 25 minutes period. She goes in 25 minutes and goes out 25 minutes. She's not used to the heat. That makes it more challenging, and the humidity of Florida. But she's working nonstop, and she's trained in finding live people, not cadavers.
Right, right. Well, Erica, thank you to everything you're doing down there. I know how challenging this is. We appreciate your time this morning. I know you were up until, well, basically right around the time we went on the air this morning. So we appreciate that. Thank you for what you're doing in your nonprofit organization. Eric, again, thank you. Greg, it's a pleasure having you on as well. I'd like to have you back on if you have the time at some point. There was a lawsuit filed by a resident who said that the people that run the building were well aware of the issues with the building. And I think that's going to become a very big issue as we learn more about what happened. Thank you to both of you.